What if Deku was Viggo? Dragons. As they're about to walk into the mist in front of their ships and disappear, Fred would ask, "So why did we leave all types of technology behind, Viggo?" As Gear would also be standing next to Viggo and Fred. Simple. You know why all of those other ships disappeared in this cursed sea that we are currently letting the waves lead us? Why? Simple. This mist blocks all communication and all types of technology, making them completely useless. The reason I asked for y'all to make those bows. I see, so no technology works beyond this mist? That's what I learned from deciphering my father's notes. And the rest of his notes should be somewhere on an island in this cursed sea. Once we cross, as they're fully enveloped into the mist, then why do you have the ships behind us in the exact formation? And why this spot exactly, Viggo? Why, Fred, you don't see the bigger picture I see. Let me tell you, going through the notes of the entire cursed sea, this is one of the very few, as then rain would start to come down hard, hitting the ship. Few safe entry points into the cursed sea. There's barely any wind in this part of the sea. That's why we're using oars to row the boats. How are we going to be able to make a fortune, like you said, by selling this stuff? You'll just have to wait and see. As they go further into the storm, as the rain starts to go down hard, keep it steady, make sure the sails are tied up. As Viggo looks behind and sees the rest of the ships doing the same. Good. So what exactly is our end goal here? You'll see what we will come here for soon. As they keep going through the storm, they just hear crackles of thunder. I would say light a torch, but the rain will just put it out. As they finally get to a medium point in the storm, as the boats then just come to a stop. Why did the boat stop? We put away the oars because of the storm. They would get destroyed. As Viggo would look over, we've completely come to a stop. As he would then look behind and see the rest of the ships are also come to a stop, as the mist is still going over them. As Viggo would look around, something's not right here. As Viggo would grab a bow, as he would look around. Hunters, grab your weapons. As several hunters would grab their weapons, we stopped. We're either in the middle of the storm, or something's approaching. Keep your eyes on the sky. Men below deck, order them to use the oars. Proceed. As the oars would come out of the ships, as they would start rowing. As for all the heavy winds and all that, still nothing in the air so far. Just the mist. The fog bank, if you want to say. As they keep going, as Viggo's keeping his eye to the sky, as Gear would ask, "Why exactly are you keeping an eye to the sky, sir?" Simple. I promised y'all a lot of you an excellent hunt. We're hunting dragons. As this would surprise Gear and anyone on the ship that heard him. Dragons? But they're just myths. Someone would say, "They're very much real, my friends. I have the proof to show you." As then, he would grab an arrow and shoot it in the air as it would hit something, as a roar would be heard. There! As a dragon would come into view. A gronkel. There! Men, fire! As several archers would fire arrows, causing the gronkel to go down to the ship. As they would throw chains around the gronkel. As Deku would approach it. A gronkel. One of the few dragons in my father's notes. It's an actual dragon, as all of them would be murmuring. Yes, it's a dragon. As one of the hunters grabs a sword and is about to kill the beast. Out of the way, I'm going to be the first one to kill a dragon. No, we could use it. There's mention of a very rare metal that can be made with gronkles. We keep it alive. As he'd point the finger at the hunter that was about to end the gronkel's life. Is that why we built cages below deck? Exactly. Take the Gronkle to the cages. It should be sturdy enough to hold a dragon. As his men would take the Gronkle below deck. Now that's one of many dragons, but I only know a handful of them in my father's notes. So what exactly are we going to do with this dragon? Use it for Gronkle iron, what else? What exactly is Gronkle iron? Gear would say. One of the most toughest materials in the world. If we can manufacture it, it could be a valuable research to sell on the black market. It can withstand very hot temperatures, such to a degree for several dragons. Their breaths will be useless of their fiery attacks on the bars. We just need to find my father's notes to recreate it. So for now, we do have the tranquilizers, correct? As they managed to have tranquilizers for the meantime. Yes, we got the tranquilizers you asked for. They're one of the few things they managed to get through that would not break because it's not technology. They're in glass containers. Until we find a means of keeping the beast contained, use the tranquilizers to keep the thing asleep. They eat rocks, so have minerals ready for it. We should have a cauldron in case it decides to spit up lava. As he would tell the hunters to do so. We have this one dragon, but what else awaits us here? Easy, my friends. Hoist the sails. As the sails would be let loose, as the wind would pick up, as they would finally be relieved of the fog bank. As they would see, like, a few islands up ahead. We actually made it across the fog. As a couple people would be celebrating. Calm down, of course we made it across. We got lucky. What do you mean? Simple. We found a dragon on our way here, which means that they pass through here every now and then. That means we were on the right path. Any wrong turn the sea may have taken us would have been straight to our doom. Until we find a safe way to get out of the cursed sea, this will be our home. As a lot of people just look at Viggo, you mean we're stuck here? Not necessarily. There are mentions in my father's notes of a way to escape the cursed sea. We need to find the rest of my father's notes for that. So if you find any documents on these islands, don't you dare burn them. As he would say in a stern tone to all the hunters. As they would simply nod in agreeance. Good, now set sail to that island. As they would set sail to an island that's nearby. As they would stop, as Viggo would get on one of the small ships, as they would row to shore with a few men. As Viggo would look around. This is good. For now, we'll take a look of the island. If there's no dangerous dragons here, we'll consider making this a camp. As Viggo, Fred, and a few other hunters would enter. Sir, do you think these tranquilizers will work on other dragons? A random hunter will ask. They're working on the Gronkle for now. Knowing dragons, from what my research has told me. Especially of the Gronkles, they're more sustainable to tranquilizers than others. For now, at least. The tranquilizers won't always work on every dragon. That's why we need a specific root. We need dragon root. It will cause the dragon's senses to overload, causing them to fall to the ground and they won't be able to fly. We find the plant, we can make arrows with dragon root. As they would be looking over the island, as especially Viggo would be looking out, trying to see any signs of a building, something that could tell him that there's anything related to his father here. As they had searched pretty much the entire island, nothing. As Viggo then sees something in the distance. Hand me that telescope. As Fred would hand him a telescope. As you take a look. Is that what I think it is? No, it possibly can't be. There's a ship over there. As then the rest of the hunters would, what? Take a look. It's empty, but we should see what it's about. Send one over the hunter ships to investigate. Yes, sir. As one of the hunters go to inform one of the ships. As Viggo would be watching from the distance as the ship is on its way over. Wasn't expecting to see a ship made it through. It doesn't carry any symbol of old Viking in research I have learned about. So can't be any new ship. Must be an old ship left here and sailing for who knows how long. As the ship would land, as they would get on the ship, as they wouldn't really find anything except a few barrels with just some supplies as they would put aboard their ship. As they return, what'd you find? We only found a few barrels. Some had food, some had these weird plants. As open the barrel. As they would show the plants. Those plants are dragon root. Perfect. We can use them. As they immediately just start to take it below deck. Now let's search for another island. We need to find my father's notes fast. As they would set sail to a few islands searching, as they would come across some change wings on one of their little island adventures. As Fred would punch one in the face, as one of their men gets dragged off into the forest. Use your arrows! As they would launch several arrows at the change wings, which would just vanish. Fall back to the ships. We do not have the necessary means of equipment for these change wings. They could be anywhere around us, so stay in formation. As they would make their way back to their ship. As Changewing tried to sneak up on them, but Fred would punch the Changewing in the face, as it would spew acid, as Viggo would grab Fred to the ground, as the acid would hit a rock as it would start to melt. As Fred would be surprised, wow, that thing would have melted my skull. Changewing venom. Their acid can melt through rock, wood, pretty much anything, but luckily doesn't affect metal. They're one of the few dragons in my notes. Changewings, Gronkles, the monstrous nightmare, Stormcutters, Zibblebacks, and there is another one, but I haven't deciphered it. Let's get back to the ship. There's nothing here. As they would set sail to another island, but this one, they would notice that it has an old rickety port. Dock there. As all the ships would dock there, as Viggo would get off. This was man-made. Someone must have been here in the last few decades. Search around, find anything. If we have any luck, this may be a place where I can find answers. As Viggo would look in, as one of his men would come back, Sir, there's a hut on the island, as well as a cave. Take me to the hut. As Izuku would find the hut and enter it, as it would have a lot of old notes and books. As Izuku would pick one up and then open it, and it would have images of dragons. As Viggo would smile, as Fred would walk over, what is it? As then Izuku would close the book and turn to the back, as it would have his father's name, Grimborn. We found my father's notes. As then they would hear a roar. What was that? Dragons! As they walk out, as they see several monstrous nightmares and a Titan wing monstrous nightmare flying above. Those are monstrous nightmares. Use the dragon root. Fire! As they had managed to, after a few days of sailing and going to island, they managed to make the dragon root into the arrow tips, as they would start firing at the monstrous nightmares, taking down at least 2. As the Titan wing and 2 monstrous nightmares would swing down towards the hut. As Izuku would grab a bow from one of his hunter's hands and an arrow, I don't think you're not burning down what my father left behind, as he would shoot it and hit the Titan wing in the neck as it would go flying down on the other side of the island. Find that Titan wing. We'll work on making cages for them soon. Until then, take them to the cave. We can keep them locked up there. Some makeshift cages. As they would follow his orders, as Izuku would enter back into the hut, as he would then open one. Now where is the formula for Gronkle Iron? As Izuku would be going through the formulas and the books to try to find it. Ah, here it is. As he would hand over the Gronkle Iron recipe to one of his men. Give this to the caretaker of the Gronkle on board the ship. Have it start making Gronkle Iron. Give him these specific rocks in the order. I've deciphered this. Do not lose it. as one of the men just grabs it and starts running off. As we go to Fred, who is on the hunt for the Titan Wing, with several other hunters. Alright, let's get to this Titan Wing. As Fred would see that there was 2 monstrous nightmares guarding the Titan Wing. Oh, it looks like those 2 decide not to run off. As then he would, crack his knuckles. Alright, men. As he would pull out the sword and then rush at the monstrous nightmares, as they would light their bodies afire and send fire towards Fred, as he would use a shield to block one, before backhanding one of them as they were coming close to try to bite him. As the hunters would use dragon root arrows, as they would hit a monstrous nightmare, as the other one just simply uses the wind to redirect the arrows. As Fred ran towards the other one that was still conscious, and then gives it a mean uppercut before jumping on its neck, as then it would light its body afire. Why do I smell steak? As then he would just realize, oh, my clothes are on fire. As then he would just try to basically lift up the monstrous nightmare before doing a suplex before running into a lake nearby. Ah! Why did I think grabbing it by the neck and while it lit itself on fire was a good idea? As basically he's just sitting in the lake. As one of the men go over there, sir, do you have an extra pair of clothes? As he just simply hands Fred some clothes. Here you go, sir. You shall not speak of this to anyone, unless you want me to cut your throat. I will not tell this to anyone, as this was the only hunter that saw him basically, in his birthday suit. As Fred would get dressed, as they would start to take the rest of the dragons, as the Titan Wing would try to resist the dragon root, but would fail. 1, because he's basically put into a makeshift cage, and 2, he's kind of trapped. And also the dragon root is very potent. As they would take him to a cage, as Viggo would be walking, basically back to a ship where they have the 1 Gronkle. How much Gronkle iron has this Gronkle made? At least enough for a cage. It may be a while. It looks a little bit exhausted. Very well, let the dragon rest. I want you to make a cage. Search the island for anything else. For now, we can keep the dragons kept in that cave. We'll make our base of operation here. There's a lot of rocks and cover, not too much stuff that the monstrous nightmares can set ablaze. As the hunters would do as Viggo commands. As one of the hunters approaches, sir, does these, guides that your father left behind have the key of getting out of the cursed sea? I am still deciphering them as we speak, as I'm the only one here that can decipher the text of my father and my ancestors. So for now, you'll have to wait, but there is an escape, I can admit. As that hunter sighs in relief, as he just doesn't want to be stuck here, as then he would go into a tent that was set up. As Fred would enter, alright, we got the Titan Wing. Why do I smell steak? Oh, sorry, I got a little bit burned, but the burn should heal in about a few hours. Give or take a day. You'll need more than that for those burns. At least they're not going to leave you scars. As he touches his scar. I guess that I can be fortunate for at least. But what are you going to do with them? The Titan Wing could be useful. But from what I've read off my notes I had from my father about the monstrous nightmare, they release a gel, which is very flammable. We'll keep it. We could use it as a fuel source for starting fires and as much more. As Fred would say, really? We could use it as a fuel source? It would be easy to light up this monstrous nightmare gel. It could also help with other things, especially if I'm looking at these dragons and deciphering some of these texts right. Some of these are going to be tricky to capture. So what do you plan to do with the dragons after we capture them? Each one of them has a use. We'll use it. And remember, has any of the monstrous nightmares been killed? One of them has. Doesn't matter. For now, we'll just use the other 4. He was including the Titan Wing. But to keep that Titan Wing ready, I think I have something planned for it. Why do you mean, keep the Titan Wing ready? Unlike the rest of the monstrous nightmares, a Titan Wing is the alpha of the monstrous nightmares. Basically a step up from the regular monstrous nightmares. It's bigger. We could use this thing, if things happen to go correctly. What do you plan to use it for? As Deku would stand up, wouldn't you like to know, my friend? But I'll leave that for another day. But next, as he'd pull out another book, a very small one as he would open it, let's research a way out of this cursed sea of ours. A lot of these words I haven't seen before, I'll need to decipher them. But for what I can tell, there is a way out through the fog. The only problem is it pushes us out in Japan waters. Why would that be a problem? We have no beef with Japan. Y'all may not. But guarantee if they find our trade route and where we escape from, all trade could cease. And truth be told, if these were in waters of better countries I would prefer, where we could sell these items more effectively, I would. But it seems that there's only, as he turns like a total of 5 pages, about at least 5 to 10 ways out of the cursed sea. One more treacherous than the other. 10 ways out of the cursed sea? Then why do you say that one? Because that's the easiest to describe, because it's in Vikingish Japanish. Easiest to describe and translate. It's also probably one of the safest, it looks like. Until we get enough equipment and all that manufactured, order the hunters to hunt other dragons on other islands. I want no failures. And once we've completed a certain amount of items, equipment to sell on the market, we'll send one of our ships to Japan. It seems going to be our main trading ground for the meantime. Very well, Viggo. Now, let's see if we can find you a dragon, Fred. You said you were interested in this one, as he would show the image of basically a storm cutter. They should be in the woodland lands somewhere. If we sail for a couple of days, we should be able to reach one. Hopefully there we can find your dragon that you said you were interested in. As Fred would just smile. Yes, I would appreciate it. After all, hopefully this one doesn't ignite itself on fire. Don't worry. The Titan Wing and the monstrous nightmares will be used as a fuel source. Their gel is very useful, and guarantee would help many in the actual world out of the cursed sea. And since we're the only people that can get this stuff, as Viggo would smile, that means they can only buy it from us. As Fred would respond, that's right. That means we can set the price up if we chose to. And if there's suddenly a decline of it in the market due to some unhappy customers or, say, people being too greedy, by attacking us, we can simply divert it, lowering the trade, cause an uproar, make the prices even higher. But for now, it will at least take 3 months before we even think about journeying outside the cursed sea. Is that because you still have not finished deciphering? That is correct. Again, a lot of these are mixed languages. Vikingish languages. Which can be hard to decipher, but I've managed to decipher several texts. Now, I'm going to take a look at that Titan Wing. I guess I'll go take sail to the woodlands. Where are they? If you go north, there should be one at least few days away. I will stay here and continue to set up the camp. As he goes to meet the Titan Wing, as he'd walk in the cave, how are the dragons? Well, if these makeshift cages that have steel bars guarding the cells, it's holding them, for now, as he would see Gear, who's making another cell using his quark. It seems your metal controlling quark has been very useful. Yes, I'm making long spears that will be able to go up and down the walls, making the cell. Where's the Titan Wing? The Titan Wing's in the very last one, as he would then see fire being spewed out of it as one of the hunters sent flying back. As you walk in front of it, ah, the Titan Wing. I'm going to ask that you help me. As Viggo Deku has a smile. As the Titan Wing decides to breathe fire at Izuku, as he would just simply lift up a shield blocking its attack. Now, Titan Wing. I can't have you attacking me. As then, he would just signal over to one of his hunters as they would bring him an item. And now the time to make sure you learn that lesson. And that is the end of What If Deku Was Viggo? Part 3, The Dragons.